our virtual Smart Men Spotlight. My name is Tammy Miner-Shagan. I'm the Executive Director of Frisco Arts, the city's arts advocacy agency, and we're so glad that you are with us today. At Frisco Arts, we believe that the arts are important to include in the conversation. So we love to highlight people who are doing great things in the arts sector. During this time of social distancing and isolation, we have really seen how the arts can provide comfort and joy and inspiration, and definitely, break the tyranny of the daily grind. So today we're going to be talking to some wonderful guests that are in the arts sector and doing great things. We have Stephen Ross, who is the public art, let me get this right, City of Frisco Public Art Administrator. And we also have Suad Bejtovic from Suad Bejtovic Photography, and also known as the Best Dressed Photographer. So we'll be getting to talk with them today. The format is I'll start with a few announcements from Frisco Arts, and then we'll talk to our presenting sponsor, who is Mike Kurz, and then we'll get to our panel and be done about 1 o'clock. So you can definitely write in your comments. This is Facebook Live, so just write in whatever you can, and we'll hope to get to it during the show. And if you have any connection issues, I'm having connection issues, so I'm actually on my phone instead of my computer, so I don't even know where I'm looking right now. But, hi, Kathy. Kathy Selvage says hello, and we're looking forward to the show. So anyway, you can write in your comments. We're going to record the show. It'll go on to our YouTube channel. So in case something goes wrong, you can definitely catch it there. Hi, Leticia. Leticia Herrero says hello. Big thanks to Anthony Barocas from stream4.us. He is the live show producer for today. And if you want to have your organization do something like this, definitely contact Anthony, the man behind the curtain over there. All right, so we're going to get to some announcements. Definitely, the art sector has been hit pretty hard with COVID-19. And one of my favorite quotes is that without art, the crudeness of reality would make the world unbearable, which is by George Bernard Shaw. And, truly, we need the arts during this time. And our artists, our arts organizations, and our arts lovers, this is something, we want to provide resources for all of you. So have on our website resources that we've put together. And if you want to just go over to friscoarts.org and click on resources, you can find them there. And if you have something that you want to add to this list, just let us know and we'll put it on there. You can email me at tammy@friscoarts. We also have Quarantine. This is for our students who are watching, and we know this is a really tough time for you all too, with school being now out for the year, but we want to encourage you to keep creating during this time. So we're compiling a Quarantine. It's an online and print magazine that will feature student artwork, poetry, photography, recipes, whatever you're doing to creatively document this slice of time in your life. And here are some entries that we've already received, which are really incredible. Art really helps us release our emotions in a productive way, very cathartic. So if you're interested in contributing towards this, you can go to our website under register, or you can also look up Frisco Arts Ambassadors, Youth Ambassadors, and you'll get the info there. Next Tuesday, we have a Ladies Who Launch program where we'll feature 2 women in arts and business. So we've got Crystal Howard, who's the publisher of Community Impact Newspaper, and Dipali Parikh, the owner of Make Expression. We'll be talking to both of them, and hope you can join us for the creative conversation that is on Cinco de Mayo at noon on Facebook Live. And the last announcement we've got for you is our Quarantini. We're at this time, outside getting our membership together, and this might be actually our last Zoom Quarantini. So we invite you to come. It's an 80s music and trivia night. So you definitely can dig out those muscle shirts, pump up the hair. It's tomorrow night. We've got some 80s band trivia, name that tune. It's going to be really fun. You can register at friscoarts.org, and this event is sponsored by our wickedly awesome friends at New York Life. So let's get to our presenting sponsor, who is Mike Kurz from Overshare Planning and advice. Mike is a big art supporter, and we really appreciate your support of this program today. Mike, we'd love to hear about your heart for the arts and also about your business. So is Mike there? Here he is.
Yes.
Hey.
Hi. This is
Thanks for
awesome.
joining us. Thanks. Well,
Yes.
it's a
Love
little
it.
crazy today. I'm kind of frazzled, but it's okay. I appreciate you being here.
You bet. It's going to be a great session today for sure.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So I love to tell you a little bit about Overshare Advice and Planning. We're a financial planning firm right here in Frisco. We are a registered investment advisor and we are fiduciaries. And we do two things. So for us, we do number one, formalized financial planning. And what that means is that we love to dig into the details. We look at all aspects of folks' financial lives to make sure that we're making good decisions everywhere, and that we can make the most of our money, and that we can have some dreams come true in the future. And we love that part of working with clients. And number two, we do very personalized investment management. Personalized investment management for us, what that means is we dig a lot into making portfolios unique for each individual client. And very specifically, we're very focused on the tax side. Almost every financial decision that you make flows through to your tax return. And we want to help folks keep as much of those dollars in their pocket and put those to good use as possible. At a high level, we focus typically on business owners with big dreams. We get a lot of excitement with business owners that have big futures and a lot of visions for their business and growing. And we love fun families. We're super extroverted. We like fun families that do cool stuff. And we're really lucky to work with a lot of great clients because we have a lot of great conversations. We have a lot of fun at lunches and dinners. And so that's always something we enjoy. And I know I had sent a few pics over to the team to pass along just to share a few things
Yeah.
that, yeah. And do you guys have those ready?
Yes. Tell us about this photo. Got it up there? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So as a part of, our commitment to our clients, we're super focused on research. In fact, we're probably pretty big nerds when it comes to digging in. So we go to a lot of meetings. So the Federal Reserve Bank holds meetings for advisors and research folks. And this is Ollie Rain. So Ollie is the head of the Bank Finland. So folks come from all over the world right here in Dallas to speak to advisors and research folks in our community. So we go to these every month or so. We do, of course, now everything's online, but we do a lot of meetings online with folks like Vanguard and Dimensional Fund. We do anywhere from an hour to 2 hours a day doing research with folks like this, and it's a lot of fun for us. But we learn a lot of things that we can share with folks.
Anthony, why don't you show just the one last photo of the, I think it's the music house. And then yes.
Oh, yeah, I love it. Yeah, so this is last September, we took a great trip. We went to Amsterdam and then snuck off a few days to Berlin. And this is the concert house, actually, we were about 2 blocks away from this at the Hilton. And what a great area. We had a chance to do tours in both Amsterdam and Berlin and see all the architecture, the different arts, the different sculptures. What an awesome way to see and experience that world. It was our first trip to Germany, which was really cool. But the Concert House has a really good YouTube channel. So if you're looking for things online, you can watch a couple of cool videos. They did some cool symphony orchestra things on their YouTube page. I'll warn you, though, a lot of it's in German, but you can still enjoy the music and get a good hour or two of nice enjoyment out of it. A lot like what's on the FriscoArts.org research page that you talked about. I watched the Plano Symphony yesterday for about an hour and a half. It was delightful. Yes, super good.
That's awesome. Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah, we definitely want to keep supporting our locals, but globally as well, the arts community needs our support. So thank you so much, Mike, for your heart for the arts and for your support today. And I know you'll be tuning in for the rest of the show, so appreciate you. All right, well, I'm going to introduce our next panelists. So, Stephen Ross, he has been the City of Frisco's Public Art Administrator since May 2017. He oversees the city's public art program and the collection of over 80 artworks. He works with artists on all facets of the public art process and was part of the team to update the city's public art master plan. Stephen holds a BA in art history from UT Austin and an MA in art history from the Courtauld Institute of Art in London. And Suad Bejtovic was born in Sarajevo, Bosnia, and moved to the US in 1997, becoming a citizen in 2004. After 15 years in corporate America, Suad took the leap to start Suad Bejtovic Photography, specializing in portrait photography. Suad has become a staple in the Frisco community by offering his skills to many area nonprofits and businesses. He also teaches continuing ed photography classes at the Collin County Community College and serves on the board of directors for the Frisco Chamber of Commerce and is the communications director for the Visual Arts Guild of Frisco. Suad and Stephen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi.
Hey, guys.
Hi, Tammy. Thanks for having us.
Hi, Tammy.
Absolutely. Hey, so what I want to do today is uncover a bit about your interest in the arts as children, your journey into what you're doing now, and some current projects, and then maybe a little peek at the future. So, Stephen, we're going to start with you. I'm going to step back in time. Those of us who are in the arts, we usually have a story or a circumstance that we can remember that drew us into the arts. So can you tell us a little bit about what that was for you? Where were you? What were the circumstances?
Sure. Well, thank you for including me in this. And, you know, when you go back that far, you kind of have to talk about where you were born. I was born in Connecticut to definitely loving parents, but people who were not arts people. But they were very supportive of my interest in the arts. And that really started when I was very young and visiting my grandmother. She was the first painter I ever knew. And going to her house was pretty amazing. It was the first time I ever saw art hanging on a wall. And it was the first time that I really ever saw that they'd make something that they love to do part of their life. This is a really cute photo of me that everybody should really love. But this is at my grandmother's house. Yeah, you know, I felt like I would win this if I just submitted this photo. So anyway, kidding, Suad. But the point is, from a very early age, I really liked art, and it's something that I wanted to. So the grandmother was very influential. I also had an aunt who was very into archival work and library sciences work. And she traveled the world, and she would bring back art books. So it's an amazing thing to think about that those books actually kindled interest in art history. And also, I'd like to say that all of us have these teachers that we need to thank. And my high school art teacher, Martha Gibson, was very influential in creating a place where we all felt welcome to art. So I'd just like to say, just to wrap this part up, you know, if there's anybody in your life that really influenced you, you know, this is a great time to thank them.
Absolutely. I know. You know, I loved in that photo too, you know, the delight and the exploration and the wonder in your eyes is so apparent. And it's something that I hope that a lot of families have been able to do during this time with art, because, you know, if you can take that time to show or to inspire, I mean, it has an effect forever. So, Suad, let's turn to you. You were born in Bosnia. Tell us a little bit about your family and how you got drawn into the arts.
Yeah, of course. Very much like Stephen, I had a family member who was in the arts and who kind of brought me into that, and that was my dad. My dad was an actor. He acted in theater since he was 10 years old. He actually had a celebration of 60 years of theater at one point or another. During when I was growing up, I had the opportunity to go to theater quite a lot. And then, of course, at opening night parties, I would get together with all the kids, and we would run around the empty theater while the adults were downstairs celebrating. But over the course of time, I just had the opportunity to meet a lot of artists from different disciplines, dancers and writers and poets, and of course a few photographers. So that was kind of my introduction to art, because when you're one type of artist, you also want to explore some other types of art. So My dad was an actor, but he knew a lot about classical music, a lot about dance and paintings, and a lot of other things. And then he was also kind of a family photographer as well.
Yeah, that is so amazing. The photos of your dad, I mean, he looks like a really like a general somewhere, you know. It's must have been amazing to grow up in an environment like that with just so much theater. I mean, you were immersed in the arts.
Absolutely, and you're not far off. In one of those pictures, he was actually chief of police in 18th century Bosnia, so that's pretty close.
Oh, okay.
And he also had seasonal. Yeah, that was the one. He also had seasonal gigs as a Santa Claus, which you can probably tell, you know, because of I did not inherit that big bushy beard, so I have to be clean shaven. But yeah. It was great because he was Zeus in a production of Odyssey. He played many Shakespeare characters. One of the most famous is Prospero from The Tempest. So it was just great to be exposed to all of that at a young age for me.
That is so great. Anthony, I know we have a photo of Suad when he was a young kid. If you could throw that up there. It's there we go. You know, we can't have Steven without Suad picture. Love it.
Of course.
Great
outfit.
Sense
of style. Yes, exactly.
Yes. So, Steven, we're going to fast forward now, go to college, where you studied art history at UT Austin, and you got your MA in arts history in London. So, you know, we have some students who are watching and who are considering studying the arts in college. What made you choose that? And, you know, just would love to get your perspective on that.
Sure. You know, I don't talk about this a lot, but I was a fair actor when I was in high school, and so much so that that's what I wanted to be. And I actually was accepted to the Art Institute of Chicago, the school, right out of high school. And, you know, I didn't actually apply to any colleges except UT. And when my father saw how much the Art Institute of Chicago was going to cost, he basically said there was no way. So my art dream was dashed. And, you know, that's a common thing to happen, you know. And I think it's something you just have to move on from. And I really took it as a positive. I ended up at UT Austin. You know, my mom worked very hard, especially to put me through that school. And the first semester I was there, I taking a class from Michael Ray Charles. For those of you who don't know Michael, he's a professor now in Houston, but he was one of the first artists featured on Art 21, that wonderful PBS series. Michael's a very intimidating presence, and he made us draw the same chair over and over and over again. I remember thinking to myself, this is not art school. What are we doing? And it came to the critique where he brought me in and he gave me a B. I wasn't used to getting Bs at that point in my life, but his point was that the ability he saw in me, I wasn't demonstrating to him that he wanted to see. Now, being the young, stupid young man that I was, I took that as maybe I should do something else. So the next semester I enrolled in art history. But it ended up being a good thing. I had a great experience at UT. It's a great school for art history. So look for places that you think you could feel comfortable that have great programs. That's the advice. I ended up at the Courtauld Institute in London, which is one of the best schools in the world for the study of art history. Still not sure how I got in. I was a 22-year-old going to London, which was amazing. I think I sent a picture took during that time when I was there at the school. So this is facing the school. This is used to be a summer palace. And on the right there, you're seeing the entrance to the Courtauld Institute. And on the left is the entrance to the Courtauld Gallery. But the next photo I just wanted to show everybody because this is what really inspires me almost every day when I think about it. This is the entrance that I walked in to at the Courtauld Gallery. And if you see at the top, it says Royal Society and Royal Antiquary Society. This was the entrance hundreds of years ago, decades and decades ago, to the Royal Society, which is one of the most hallowed institutions for the study of science ever. And we got to walk through this door and have our classes in that space. Directly across, like I said, is the entrance to the gallery. That's where the Royal Academy was, which was the best art school in the world for decades and decades and decades. So my sister reminded me that Darwin walked through that door, and then the art gallery on the left, Thomas Gainsborough walked through that door. I got to go to school.
Wow.
It was an amazing experience, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
Yes. You know, traveling like that and being somewhere where you are steeped in history, it really does change you. So what an incredible experience for you. Suad, you served during the war in Bosnia, but you were also an on-air personality at a local radio station. Can you tell us about how that came about and what drew you into broadcast?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually started playing around with radio a lot earlier than that. In this picture, I'm in kind of my early 20s, I think. But since I was about 10 or 11, I was a part of a children's radio team. So that when everybody was making radio plays and they needed a kid's voice, they would call one of us. And then, of course, we would also make radio plays for kids. So that's kind of how early my love of radio started, and then I went through a lot of different radio stations. And yes, during the war, in breaks between the action, I would sit behind the microphone and play a few tunes and talk to some people. That was kind of my way of kind of staying sane in that particular situation.
Yeah, wow. Well, you definitely do have a radio voice. It wasn't something that I recognized until I saw the photo. I'm like, yeah, he does. So I wouldn't be surprised if I got back into that later on.
Yeah, maybe a podcast or something, right?
Yeah, exactly. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Stephen, we're going to come back to you. So, you finished your work studying, and now you're back in Dallas in the Dallas art scene, and you were serving on the public art committee there. You taught an undergrad course at SMU, and very involved at the Nasher Sculpture Center before coming to Frisco. So, can you tell us a little bit about the work that you were doing at the Nasher?
Sure. So I was lucky to come back to this area when the Nasher Sculpture Center was opening. And it was in its first year, started work, and I was lucky enough to become part of the team that built the education program there. So I became eventually the curator of education, and I managed all programs from kids to adults. I worked on partnerships and maintaining partnerships around the city with other arts organizations. Obviously leading a docent program so that we could do tours. It was an amazing experience, but also just getting to know the Nasher family, Raymond Nasher, Nancy Nasher's daughter, who are incredible collectors and patrons of the arts. If you've been to North Park in Dallas, that's a place where you can see incredible art. It's one of those things where it's an opportunity that I've sort of fell into, that I'm very proud of, and it's something that I would never trade for anything. The picture you're seeing there is one of the first modern sculptures, contemporary sculptures, to be in North Park. This is 1972. Wonderful.
Wow.
I also was in charge of, giving a lot of the VIP tours, well, really most of the tours, and speaking to most of the groups that came through, corporate groups and nonprofits. So it was an opportunity to really educate often, and it's something that I really do actually kind of miss. It's something I want to do more of in my current position. And then lastly, I left, and the director, who's still there, is Jeremy Strick, likes to joke that I left on a Friday to work on something called Nasher Exchange. This was the 10th anniversary of the museum, and it was an opportunity for us to give back to the community by creating the first museum-curated city exhibition. So I worked with 10 different artists on programs around the city, and they all had partners. So what you're looking at here on Calder Street, which is a unique coincidence, I think, is a project we did with Habitat for Humanity with Lara Amal-Segui. She's an artist who's interested in forgotten spaces that people don't really think of. She's also interested in the materials we use to build things. So Habitat for Humanity had been building this neighborhood up, and we got permission from them and through a heavy permitting system with the city of Dallas to bulldoze the house because it was going to be a knockdown anyway, to build a new house on the space. And Lara wanted to bury it. So what you're looking there in this photo actually is the house underneath the ground there. I think it's a beautiful statement about the memories that happened in that area, and a beautiful statement about what artists can do with materials. Also, really a pleasure to work with Rick Lowe. Project Row Houses in Houston is something everybody should look into. It's one of the greatest social art experiments and, well, successes. I shouldn't even say an experiment. Long-running way to revitalize a neighborhood. And he did something in the Vickery Meadow neighborhood of Dallas with us, which I think was groundbreaking. And here's a great picture of me with the curator of the Nasher, Jed Morris. rainbow piece that went over at the Trinity River Audubon Center in Dallas, which if you haven't been, it's beautiful. This was Rubens' first public art piece, and he was a real delight to work with. He works with materials that are normally not creating art. Here, you're looking at those concrete posts that signs are usually made from. And he created this beautiful field of what look like flowers. So really a pretty amazing experience. It's something I hope to tell people about if they have time.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you know what, Stephen, it also sounds like you have a teacher's heart, because you enjoy, learning from the sculptors and the artists, but then also sharing that with others. Would you say that's true?
Right. Oh, absolutely. And, the thing is that when you become a museum educator, and you asked earlier about, students, especially what they're looking for in their career, art school, you go to art history school, you need to figure out what you're going to do with that, right? You can become an academic if you want. You can become a working artist, but working in museums and galleries, and especially museums and education, is something that's an incredible experience because you're the front line for communicating about what things are. And really, that challenge of, I don't know if I really can be part of this, that students often have in museums. I love that with education.
I love that. Well, and I think, I said this before, the more you know about a piece of art or music or the ballet, the more you appreciate it. So you're really helping to cultivate, the next generation of arts patrons. So thank you for all of that. Suad, going back to your story, so you moved to the U.S. and then you did a lot of traveling and started taking photos of the beautiful natural landscapes here. So I know you submitted a bunch of beautiful photos that we can put those on the screen. Tell us a little bit about the places you traveled and where some of these are from.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to meet a couple of guys who were also sharing my my interest in photography, especially landscape photography, national parks, public lands, and all of that, which are generally in the western part of the country. Although this first picture is actually from Chicago, which you will appreciate, Tammy.
Yeah,
it is.
I know.
It is from. It is from the top of the Hancock Observatory, looking kind of straight down after the sun had set. So you can kind of see the streets and the cars stopped at the light and all that. So that was kind of interesting. But most of my travel, like I said, was through Arizona, which is where this is. This is one of the Antelope Canyons in northern Arizona, right around the city of Page, if you're looking for it. And those are just slot canyons that water has created over thousands and hundreds of thousands of years. And so now we're able to walk through and admire these wonderful works of art created by nature. And so as a nature and landscape photographer, your task is to kind of capture that beauty. This is in Bryce Canyon National Park in Utah, so not far away. I think both of these pictures were taken on the same trip. And then, of course, you have to walk out, especially this time of year, and take a couple of pictures of good old Texas bluebonnets. So yeah, I try to find beauty wherever I go, and especially in some of these places where you can't really take a bad picture. You just have to point the camera, and something amazing happens. I was fortunate enough to go to see quite a lot of them. This picture in particular is in Croatia, not far from where I was born, in the city of Dubrovnik, actually, which is a coastal town that's been around for many hundreds of years. It's been an independent republic back in the Dark Ages, and that is the place where I would most often go on summer vacation while I was growing up in Bosnia. So this was taken on one of the later trips that I came back and took some photos of the incredible city walls and fortresses that are in that town. So that was one of the things that I found there. And then, of course, one of my favorite trips was to Yosemite National Park. This was on one of the trails. The waterfall in the background is the Yosemite Falls, which I think is the tallest year-round waterfall in North America. I think I'm right about that. It's an absolutely incredible place. This is also in Yosemite. So if you have any chance to go, especially now if the national parks and parks in general became open, It's a fantastic place to go. It's pretty busy during the summer. It's actually the most visited park in the national park system. But Yosemite is absolutely worth your time. It is amazing. Book at least 3 or 4 days there to see as much as you can and hike some of those trails that are there.
Yes, definitely. I was so amazed when I went to Yosemite too. I mean, just there is so much beauty that surrounds you, but the canyon pictures that you took with the colors, I mean, those are just naturally there, right? Those purple hues, the pink hues. You didn't have to put a filter on that.
No, there's no filter, but it's important to realize that photography is writing with art, right? That's the literal translation from Greek. Writing with light. I'm sorry, but it also involves a little bit of trickery. So yes, those blues and purples don't actually exist. All of this stone is kind of this reddish, orangish hue, but as the light gets further down into the canyon, it kind of bounces off the walls and cools off, and it actually acquires a different color. So those parts toward the top, they show that true red and orange color. But as you go further below, you start seeing some of those blues and purples that actually are not there. It's just kind of how light works.
I love what you said. You said photography is writing with light. I had never heard that before, so I'm gonna keep that in my brain. I love it.
Photo is light, and then graphos is writing. So photography is writing with light.
Latin. Of course. Yeah, no, I love that. So, Stephen, we'll come back to you now in your current position as the public art administrator. What's really cool about Frisco that I learned when I was on the public art board was that really all of us as citizens in Frisco are art collectors because of the city's commitment to, have that ordinance of 1% towards public art. So can you describe a little bit about that and the uniqueness of the city's art collection?
Sure. I just want to say I am sad that I missed you because, as soon as I started, you were gone from the
Yeah.
But,
no. Had I known, I would have stayed.
So, oh, okay. Thank you. All right. So the city of Frisco has had a public art collection since 2002. It was established, or a pub program, I would say, since 2002. It was established through ordinance, and it's a percent for our program, like you said. A percentage of capital improvement projects is set aside for the creation of public art. 2002 is very early to have a program like that, and it really shows that the city of Frisco wanted to make sure that they were creating the arts infrastructure of their city while they were building it. So there are over 80 artworks in the collection. You're seeing some of them up here on the screen here. Artists that are known all over the world, artists that have been chosen by the state of Texas to represent the state for arts. We are very lucky to have what we have in this city. So I also oversee the master plan, as you said in the beginning. We read the master plan in 2018. It was originally written in 2004. It's a great document if you want to see what we do with public art in Frisco and what we plan on doing. I'm also happy that I get to work with the Public Art Board. These are 7 residents of Frisco who work very hard to that you are getting top quality art in these capital improvement projects. And so what I do all day long is I work with artists on the contracting process, the permitting process, working on design, relation. It's a process that I highly recommend artists who are interested in getting public art learning more about. And I'm here to say that if you are an artist listening and you want to learn more about how public art is done, give me a call or you can do it. That's why I'm here. The point is, it's a little bit more involved than doing studio work, and it's something that can be real intimidating. But the point of a public art administrator, a manager, or a coordinator, they're here to help you with that process. And later we'll talk about some projects that are coming up.
Yes, definitely. Now, there's so much that is entailed. I only got to see one installation when I was part of the Public Art Board, but it was incredible to me, especially as a musician, because I'm not as familiar with the visual art side of it, but how much is behind the scenes. You see a sculpture and you think, oh, it just showed up like that, in one piece, but there is so much behind that. So I'm looking forward. Right. So, Suad, back to you. You made the decision after 15 years in the corporate world to jump off and start your own business as Suad Bejtovic Photography. So I know that there's probably a lot of folks watching that, even especially after these 6 weeks of being at home, that they're considering, maybe I need to go do my own thing versus staying in the corporate world. Can you tell us what made you make that decision, and then a little bit more about your business?
Sure, of course. One thing that I would recommend is start as early as you can, but you don't have to necessarily leave the job you have. You can kind of do it as I had been doing while I was taking all these pictures that we just saw. I was working in a corporate America kind of a job, and took my vacations to those places on purpose, just with the purpose of taking photos, and kind of building that fine art portfolio. And not only that, but just building the skills that you need for a photography business. So learn how to familiarize yourself with your camera, how the camera operates, so you don't have to look for different settings. You just kind of know where they are at all times, so you don't have to even think about that, so that the camera becomes an extension of you and not something that you have to figure out every time you want to take a picture. And things like that only come with practice. So practice, of course. 10,000 hours of practice is required for mastery of any skill, as we know. So take pictures of people who are in your home, or take pictures of your surroundings or your neighborhoods, and you'll see an extension of a project like that they're being shown right now. I have a project that I've been taking photos of friends that I see around Frisco with my black and white film camera. So not only is it a film camera, but it's black and white. So it's just kind of like a nostalgic look at kind of how things used to be and how we used to take pictures. But now with a special twist. These are all special people to me, and we would get together, have coffee or lunch or something like that, and then I would say, hey, do you mind if I take a photo of you for my project? And then once all the photos have been developed and printed, then I would actually give them the print so that they can have that. It's like a Suad Bejtovic original, if you will. On my end, it kind of taught me how to see light, how to compose, and because it's film, you don't have that many options. Everybody gets only one shot, so you kind of have to think about that. You have to slow down a little bit and be much more deliberate about how you take the picture compared to what you would do with a digital camera. So all of these people, like I said, are very special to me, and we would all kind of get together and get relaxed and just kind of chat. And from those situations, all of these photos are made.
Yes. Well, and I know you have done a lot of event photography for us at Frisco Arts, which has been just so wonderful because you are able to capture these moments that we're, gathering the membership, like with our Arts Impact event. And so, yeah, we're looking through some of these. And it's just, a lot of times people think, especially in our Instagram age, if you don't capture the photo, it never happened. So,
right, exactly.
It is really important that you do have a photographer at your events, because these moments are in passing, and now you have a record, and it's a bit historical as well. There's an element of that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, because these events, people spend a lot of time and energy putting these events together. And I mean, you know that better than anyone, Tammy, because Frisco Arts events are always amazing and bring a large audience. But then you want to capture that moment. And it can't be just, one of the volunteers who also has 5 or 10 other jobs and duties throughout the evening. It has to be a dedicated person who has a camera, and his one job throughout the evening is to capture all of these moments that you're going to be using later, either to promote the events for next year or whatever the next event is, or all of these people that are in these pictures, they're going to want to tag themselves on Facebook and show them to their friends and say, hey, look how much fun I had at the latest Frisco Arts event. And I, of course, do other events, not just nonprofit events, but corporate events that are similar in type. And it's for that same purpose, so that people can kind of see the energy of the place, and kind of show that to whoever they're working with. And then, of course, I collaborate with a lot of other people and entities here in Frisco with Lifestyle Frisco, the online media platform. So I do a lot of photos for them, with the Frisco Chamber of Commerce, with the Visual Arts Guild of Frisco. So I enjoy helping develop that community of artists, and not only that, but kind of showing everybody what Frisco is all about, how much fun we have here, how we bring people together for various purposes. And I just love that about Frisco.
Now, we didn't get to see some of your portrait photography, but I kind of want to hear from you, and this is a question I'll ask Stephen too, is, why is photography or the arts so important? Why is capturing these images and some of the stuff that you did during COVID-19, even the photography at that time, during this time, why is it important?
Well, art is important in general. It's kind of what gives purpose to the rest of it. We're not here, just to go shopping or to pay our bills or go to work. We also have to have some kind of an enrichment in our lives, and that's where the art came in. And I think early on in the event, you had a page from FriscoArts.org. Where with that quote that if you don't like artists, then try to get through quarantine without writers and actors and painters and photographers and videographers and all of these artists that are creating this content that we're binge watching on Netflix or scrolling through on our social media. So art is an essential part of our lives, and what people like Stephen are doing is making art an essential part of our community and our environment. So you can go down the street and see some public art and be intrigued with it, be inspired with it, to do something of your own. So I think the art kind of make life have some kind of a purpose, whether we're consuming the art or we're creating it. So without art or artists, it would be a much lesser world, in my opinion.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And I think, that's one of the reasons we put that quote on the resources page too, is because we want people to be aware as advocates that you have been surviving this time because of artists, and that we have to include our artists and our arts organizations and folks that are creating in this recovery process, because they have been part of the sustainability process. So I appreciate that. Anthony, why don't you show us the photos through the installation process of that? Do you go through that file? These were submitted by Stephen because he, of course, oversees all of the installation of every single, since he's been here, of the commissioned works. And we have, I love the one especially of Surf Dog. Let's pull up that file. Sculpture specifically, it's so difficult. I don't know too many sculpture artists. Personally, I have met a few from the Texas Sculpture Garden. This one is at the Rough Range Dog Park. That is very unique to Frisco. So you just can go over there by FM, what is that? It's like Stonebrook and Lebanon in between there. It's a really, really cool sculpture. And I
Fourth Army Road, is it?
Fourth Army, that's right, yeah. And I think on Stephen's table he has a mini surf dog.
Yeah, I think we saw it in the background, when he was on screen.
Yes, but it's truly incredible, the size and the scope of these projects, and the fact that every citizen in Frisco, this is part of your collection. You are an art collector of 80 plus different works in Frisco, and you can find out more information about every one of these beautiful pieces on the friscotexas.gov website. This one is called, I believe it's called Dreaming, and that's a smaller replication of that one. So yeah, definitely check out the website. Yeah, this is the city's website, and you can check out the entire public art collection. And the other thing too, the Play Frisco, brand is just a really great way of capturing the artistic creativity and the talent within our city. And so there's a new Instagram page for them. Suad, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Play Frisco and their Instagram?
Yeah, they just started that a couple of weeks ago and put out a call to artists I think the theme of the show was animals. So a lot of artists just put together some photos of animals, and they've been posting them on a daily or regular basis. And it's just kind of like another way to showcase the local artist. So one thing that I would recommend, especially if you're a visual artist, Instagram is kind of a medium that's made for that. So connect with Frisco Art Gallery. You see their handle right there. But there are also other avenues for artists to show their work, even in this time when we can't gather for receptions at galleries. We have our friends at Gallery 8680 who are going to have a virtual art show in May, and then of course my friends from Visual Arts Guild of Frisco are preparing their annual show called Artrageous, which will be virtual as well during the month of June. So just connect with organizations that are around town and look for those calls for artists. And yes, let me not forget the art in the atrium, but I'd love for Stephen to talk more about that.
Yes, Stephen, are you back now?
I think so. I'm really sorry. It just keeps going in and out, but I'll talk as long as I can. So Art in the Atrium is a program the city has been doing since 2006. And we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of artists since that time. And, it's something the Public Art Board really looks forward to. They actually choose the artworks that are in the show. I think they do a great job being the curators of this wonderful experience that encompasses usually up to 30 cities in the area, artists representing 30 cities in the area, which is amazing. Some of these artists have been in the show since the very beginning. Some of them new each time, which is, I think, very inspiring. So Vision 2020, which is the one that should be going up soon, is temporarily postponed because of the pandemic situation, but we will get back to that and announce the artists that are involved in that. If you're interested in being in any of these exhibitions, just email me because we have 2 a year. Next one will be in the fall.
Wonderful. And we were speculating, is Surf Dog behind you there on your table?
Yeah, that's the maquette that Jeffy Brewer made for the Public Art Board to see what the sculpture would look like. That's a great piece over at Rough Range Dog Park. I highly recommend you going to see it. Jeffy is an artist who loves, funny, very intelligent. He grew up in a junkyard in East Texas, and he says he learned how to put things together, to weld metal together there in that experience in the junkyard that his parents owned. It's a wonderful picture of him actually welding the piece. Every inch of that sculpture was created by the artist, hand painted by the artist. He's an artist that I really think that a lot of people should know more about. He taught for many years at Stephen F. Austin, and please do go check out his website if you can.
And now that we have you back, can you talk a little bit about Chipmunks and Cheetos? First of all, love that name.
Sure.
And David,
that's my favorite. That's my favorite artwork in the collection. People ask me that often. It's also the smallest artwork in the collection. David Isles is a Texas artist known for creating sculptures of Texas wildlife. And so what you're seeing here is really cast Cheetos, real Cheetos that he cast. And it's actually only about 11 inches off the ground. And everything was hand sculpted by him. Wonderful of David installing it. I will say that we did remove this temporarily because David is actually welding some spots back together that have come undone over the years. So we'll be back, and it's going to be located or is located in Hummingbird Park. David has wonderful pieces, as you're seeing here, over at the Hall Arts as well. So amazing pieces and representations for David in the area. Highly recommend you looking them up if you can.
Yes, I wonder if people were thinking they were real Cheetos and they were trying to tear it apart. Who knows? They look so good.
Well, I think, as you know, for a long time they were white because all the paint had rubbed off. So they're orange again. When they're installed, they will be orange again.
Well, I love just hearing about the stories behind these. And, if there's ever a time where you do a lecture or something and you want to tell about all of the different stories behind the artworks, I'd definitely be there. And I'm sure we could get a bunch of folks to listen in because that's, it just helps you appreciate it. Yeah. So
Absolutely
I
love
did
to do
ask
that.
Suad this question. Well, good, because I'm going to count on you to do that then.
Okay.
I did ask Suad about, the importance of photography and art, but I did want to ask you as well. Why public art? Why is art important in your perspective?
Well, public art, and the reason I love it so much is because it's publicly accessible. I mean, I know that sounds, it's in the name, but the idea is it is created in the places that we live and work. It is in your neighborhoods. You may not even know it. It's in some parks in your neighborhood. And the idea is during a time especially like this, these things are things that you can go see. It effectively turns your city, your community into a museum. That's the beauty of public art. It is something that you don't have to pay for. It's something that is accessible to everyone. And hopefully people have a sense of ownership for, especially the ones that they live next to. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And if you're interested, you can go to the city's website. We just updated a lot of the photos and descriptions of the pieces in the collection. This is the page here. If you scroll down, there is actually a link where you can open up a slideshow of images so you can see about 4 pieces in the collection.
Very cool. Yes, no, I think it's wonderful. It's one of the things I really do love about our city. So, wrapping up, now that we've kind of taken a journey of your lives from childhood all the way through, I want to ask a question that's a little more personal of each of you. So, Swab, we'll start with you. What would your current self tell your younger self, and why?
It would probably have to be to not be afraid to start early. We all kind of have, as artists, we always have doubts about our work or our abilities. And we just need to give ourselves a little bit more credit and trust in ourselves a little bit more and get started even when it doesn't sound like it would be a good idea. Because the earlier you start, the more enriched your life with art will be. So I think, especially if somebody is thinking about starting a business in the world of art, whether it's photography or painting or anything else, or music especially, start early. Do what you can to practice as much as you can. Learn your craft to the maximum level available to you, and all of the other pieces will eventually fall into place as long as you put in the work.
Yes, I love that. Start early.
Yes.
Stephen, how about you? What would your current self tell your younger self, and why?
Sure. I've been lucky to meet a lot of really great artists, and I used to tell this story a lot. I haven't in a while, but in my younger years, there was an artist that I was at a reception with. He's an internationally known artist. He's somebody who you would probably know. And, we were standing in front of artwork, and we were talking about an artist I admired as a student. So this was years before, and he was talking about how excited he got looking at those artworks and how excited he got going to those exhibitions and reading those books. And then he turned away and he said very solemnly, I haven't felt like that in years. And it struck me at the time, even me, that was pretty dark, and it reminded me, and I think about this story every time I get down a little bit, that we do have to find inspiration every day. And so that's something I would tell my younger self. So for example, shameless plug, go look at the Frisco Public Art Collection if you're interested. Go look up the Courtauld Gallery on YouTube. There's a wonderful tour with Bill Nye, the actor, of those galleries if you want to see what that's like. Or, just really, get out there and find something new that you've never experienced before in the arts. It does wonders for your mind.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, it's, I truly believe that all of us are born to be creative, and that, inspiring that creativity and tapping into that individually is good for us. But it's also good for the collective whole. So I love that message that, we need to definitely find inspiration every day. So thank you both for being our guests today on Smart Men. You guys are smart men in the arts, also in business, in informing our public. So appreciate you guys for your time.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And thank you all for joining us today for this edition of Smart Men. I really loved getting to know both Suad and Stephen better, and I hope you did as well. You can reach out to them anytime to, if you need someone for photography purposes or to look and find the art that is in our city all around us. If you're interested in learning more about Frisco Arts, arts advocacy, you can go to our website at friscoarts.org. You can also become a member or donate and help support our efforts to keep the arts in the conversation. So we look forward to seeing you again next Tuesday for Ladies Who Launch. We will also have some other events coming up. Just subscribe to our newsletter. It's free on our website. So thank you all for joining us, and be careful as you go back out. And until next time, make sure you find inspiration every day. Stolen from Stephen Ross. Thanks. Bye.